The I between the opposites. Part 1. An opposite is not merely one thing standing against another. We speak of night and day, man and woman, yes and no, pleasure and pain, left and right, good and evil. They appear as polarities, yet they cannot all be considered in precisely the same way. They are not necessarily different kinds of reality. They are different points of consideration within the same reality, the same image in action. Left and right are ideas. There is no left and no right without a standpoint from which the distinction can be made. Something must be present to consider the two sides. One side cannot stand apart and recognize itself as one side. It sees only the other, and the other reflects it back to itself. 2 points are not enough. There must be a third point of consideration. This third point is not merely another side. It is the standpoint through which the sides become distinguishable. It is neutral, not because it is empty or inactive, but because it does not appear as either of the things being considered. Think of two circles overlapping. One circle appears on one side and another on the other, although there is ultimately no true left or right. Where the circles overlap, an oval appears in the center. That center belongs to both circles, yet it cannot be reduced to either one. It is the meeting. It is the space between. It is like the heart. It is like the mind. The mind does not feel as an object feels, yet every feeling appears within it. It does not stand among its own contents as another thing to be examined. Mind considers what appears within mind, but mind cannot step outside itself and place itself before itself. The one looking into the mirror never sees the one who is looking. All that appears is a reflection. Yet the person says, "All I see is myself." Yes and no. No and yes. This is the paradox. The reflection is the person, but the reflection is not the person. The mirror reveals the person by concealing the one who is actually looking. The observer never appears in the same manner as the thing observed. The same mystery may be approached through light and shadow. Light itself is invisible. We see what light touches, what interrupts it, and what reflects it. An obstruction becomes the medium through which invisible light appears as form, contrast, and shadow. The shadow exists, but not independently. It is not a substance standing alone. It appears through relationship, light, obstruction, and the standpoint from which both are considered. This is why yes and no may be the same while no is not the same as yes. Every distinction depends upon relationship, yet the relationship is not perfectly symmetrical from every point of consideration. One pole reveals the other while concealing something of itself. Night and day appear throughout nature, but even night and day require something capable of making the distinction. An animal may move through darkness and light without thinking night has arrived or day has returned. The pattern occurs, but the named division belongs to the mind that conceives it. Good and evil are different points of consideration again. They do not appear in precisely the same manner as darkness and daylight. Good and evil involve judgment, conscience, intention, and the mind within the human being. Yet all distinctions arise through one fundamental activity: the image relating to itself. Image. Image in action. Imagination. The image vibrates upon itself and appears as relationship, contrast, movement, and distinction. These words do not capture what is happening. They are sounds inherited from those who spoke before us. A father points and teaches a child, the sound means one. The child learns the association. Gradually, the sound and the idea become so closely joined that the child forgets the word was taught. The symbol begins to feel like the thing itself. But what does one truly mean? I may point to one cigarette within a package of 25 cigarettes. Yet, when I speak of the one, I am not speaking of an amount. I am using a convenience of language, a symbol inherited through the conditions in which I learned to speak. I could speak another language and use another sound. The sound would change. What is being indicated would not be contained by either sound. There is only the one, but not as a numerical quantity opposed to two or many. Each cigarette within the package has infinite potential to express itself within the boundaries of how that particular thing has been formed, imagined, and constructed. Each appears separately, yet every apparent separation remains within the same reality. Infinity never changes, even while infinitely changing. Consider a person asleep and dreaming. The dreamer remains while everything within the dream undergoes continual transformation. A room becomes a house. The house becomes a sewer. Happiness becomes fear. A threatening presence appears. The dreamer runs without clearly knowing what is being escaped. Only after waking does the person recognize that every place, creature, fear, and movement belonged to one dream. The room and the sewer were not the same because they looked alike. They were the same because they shared one essence. They appeared within one event. The dream was in constant flux, yet something remained throughout every transformation. The images changed, but the essence did not change in the same manner as the images. This is why reality must sometimes be imagined as a dream in order to understand what is being pointed toward. There is no external mirror inside the dream in the ordinary sense. Even when a mirror appears, the mirror, the reflection, and the one looking are all movements within the dream itself. A person may believe they are fully lucid within a dream, but complete lucidity would mean something more than recognizing a few details or briefly suspecting that one is dreaming. To become entirely lucid within the dream would be comparable to awakening while remaining inside it. Waking awareness would enter the dream without being swallowed by the dream's conditions. That is the awakening within the awakening. The lucid dream within the dream. Yet the moment we attempt to describe it, language begins constructing separate objects where no final separation can be found. We name a few things we do not understand and begin believing that we understand reality. We do not know what anything is. We can name every part of a tree, but naming the parts does not reveal what the tree is. Each part can be divided into smaller parts, and every explanation leads toward another explanation. We never arrive at the final substance beneath all appearances. Words point. They do not contain. The map is not the territory. The symbol is not what it symbolizes. To forget this is to make an idea into a thing and then worship the thing we made. This does not mean language is useless or that we must remain silent forever. If that were the conclusion, there would be nothing left to do but close the door, crawl beneath the covers, and breathe our final breath. We speak because symbolism is the manner in which the invisible translates itself into the visible. We need only remember that every statement contains its own contradiction. To say nothing can be said is already to say something. To declare that there is no truth is to make a truth statement. The statement defeats itself, but this self-defeat is not merely failure. It reveals a paradoxical collapse into infinity. Infinity gives itself to the finite. The finite expresses the eternal infinite. Every word fails, yet through its failure it may still point. Every image conceals, yet through its concealment it may reveal. Every opposite divides, yet through division the one encounters itself. Giving and receiving appear to be two different actions. From one point of consideration, they are. From another, they are not. The answer is always yes, no, no, yes. The mistake is believing that giving only means placing an object into another person's hands. Money, food, a possession. That is only one point of consideration. There is also inward giving. Suppose I see a beautiful woman. Impulse says, take. Desire says, look with lust. Imagination begins constructing possibilities. Everything within my condition urges me toward one movement. Then another movement appears. I say no. I choose respect. At first, it appears that I have given respect to her. But have I? She may never know I was there. She may never receive anything in the ordinary sense. Her not receiving becomes the receiving. Nothing has entered her hands. Nothing has passed from one person to another as an object. The sacrifice occurred elsewhere. The sacrifice was placed upon my own heart. I was not giving to her. I was giving from my heart to God. The offering was my own impulse. Desire said, become this. Conscience answered, no. Not because desire disappeared, but because another point of consideration became greater than desire. The struggle itself became the offering. This is why temptation has meaning. The person who has never struggled with a particular condition cannot know overcoming in the same manner as one who has struggled through it. If I spend years overcoming smoking, I become strong in ways that someone who never struggled with smoking cannot become through that particular path. This does not make me greater than another person. It means transformation occurred through the condition itself. The condition became the teacher. Resistance became strengthening. The sacrifice was inward. Nothing visible changed. Yet something real occurred. Perhaps giving is not even the deepest word. Perhaps what appears as giving is a movement toward harmony. Not emotional harmony. Alignment. The impulse. The conscience. The heart. Recognition. Each appears to pull in a different direction until they begin moving together. The I becomes single, not because only one object remains, but because the divisions lose their absolute reality. The space between the opposites becomes more significant than the opposites themselves. The overlap, the center, the meeting. This same pattern appears everywhere. The celestial, the mind within the human body, the ether between, the earth beneath the feet, the essence that is. These are not separate worlds competing against one another. They are different points of consideration through which one movement is contemplated. Above the head is the crown, like the stars spread throughout the heavens and the space between the stars. Tao points toward that which cannot be spoken. The opening of the Tao Te Ching declares that the Tao which can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. Judaism points toward the name that cannot be named. People often imagine these traditions are attempting to define God. Perhaps they are doing something subtler. Perhaps they are protecting the understanding that the symbol is never the reality itself. The child mistakes the symbol for the thing symbolized. The mature mind remembers that the symbol only points. Every tradition becomes another point of consideration. Not another truth. Not another God. Another window. Another symbol. Another angle through which the same mystery reflects itself. The danger begins when the window is mistaken for the sky. Then the symbol replaces what it was meant to reveal. The finger replaces the moon. The word replaces reality. The reflection replaces the one who is looking. Thought begins worshiping its own images without recognizing them as images. That is where philosophy hardens into dogma. That is where living movement becomes another object to defend. The movement has already been lost. The symbol remains. The life has departed. And the search begins again. There came a point when the question itself began to change. The question was no longer simply whether giving and receiving were the same act. The deeper question became, what is actually being given? If nothing is placed into another person's hands, if the other person never knows, if no physical exchange has occurred, then where did the gift go? The answer cannot simply be to the other person, nor can it simply be to myself. Neither description reaches deeply enough. The movement is toward God. Not God as another object somewhere else. Not a being standing across the room receiving invisible presence. The movement is toward the highest recognition available within consciousness itself. Toward awakening. Toward remembering. Toward the lucid dream within the dream. Ordinarily, the human condition pulls in one direction. Desire says, take. Ambition says, use. Impulse says, feed yourself. Once pleasure has been consumed, discard what produced it. Forget it. Move on. Treat the person as another object that has finished serving its purpose. Human history has revealed this pattern countless times. The awakening begins when another movement appears. For the love of God. For the love of life. For the recognition that another human being is not merely an instrument for satisfying an impulse. A person says no, not because desire never existed, not because temptation vanished, precisely because temptation remained. The condition remained. Yet something deeper than the condition answered. I will not become that. This is not merely restraint. It is sacrifice. Not the sacrifice of another person. The sacrifice of one's own impulse. The heart becomes an altar. Desire is placed upon it. Not destroyed. Offered. This is why suffering and struggle cannot simply be dismissed as mistakes. The struggle itself becomes part of the transformation. Every condition carries within itself the possibility of becoming its own teacher. One person may never struggle with smoking. Another may struggle for years before finally overcoming it. The one who struggled has learned something that cannot be borrowed secondhand. Not because suffering is superior, because transformation occurred through the condition itself. The condition became the doorway. This is why comparison eventually collapses. One struggle cannot finally be measured against another. Each condition becomes one particular path through which consciousness encounters itself. Every path belongs to the same whole. Then another realization appeared. Perhaps giving is not the deepest word. Perhaps receiving is not either. Perhaps both are names given to something prior to both. Harmony. Alignment. The movement through which the divided begins remembering its own unity. The impulse. The conscience. The heart. Recognition. What first appeared as separate movements gradually reveal themselves as different expressions of one movement, viewed from different points of consideration. The I becomes single, not because everything disappears, but because the obsession with separate things begins to disappear. The center becomes more important than the sides. The overlap becomes more important than the circles. The silence becomes more important than the words. This is why language continually fails. Every word attempts to freeze a movement that is alive. Every definition creates another object. Reality immediately escapes beyond the definition. One statement produces its opposite. The opposite produces another synthesis. Then the synthesis becomes another object waiting to be transcended. Language is always arriving too late. Yet language remains necessary. It points. It gestures. It invites. It cannot deliver reality itself. The symbol is never the thing symbolized. The finger is never the moon. The map is never the territory. Yet without fingers, maps, and symbols, many people would never begin looking. Perhaps this is why wisdom speaks through paradox. Not to confuse, but to prevent the mind from believing it has captured what cannot be captured. The closer thought approaches the center, the more transparent thought becomes. Eventually, what matters is no longer the words. It is the seeing. Not seeing another object. Seeing from the place where division first appeared. Where yes and no arise together. Where giving and receiving cease arguing. Where every symbol quietly returns to the silence from which it first emerged. Amen. Let it be so.